never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Good evening, CFN. Hope everybody's having a great night. This is not me. It is a facsimile of me if I let myself go. Although he's slimmer than I am. So, you know what? This is a better rendition of me. I don't know if I could ever grow a beard like that. But this was something that showed up on my doorstep. I want to thank Pat and Charles for putting this together. And Charles, I have an idea. If we mount this on a piece of wood with a little plaque across it, this would be a great CFN award. Yeah, just thinking outside the box. Anyway, thanks so much for this. This is the cutest thing ever. He's got a little CFN logo on the back. Of course, he's got his little red and white bobber, which I secretly fish with. Shh, don't tell anybody. And yeah, this is really, really cool. And the gifts don't stop there. Of course, Yvonne's going to be joining us later, and I've already thanked her for this, but I've got a nice towel for fishing. It says fishing story loading, please wait, which I think is really cool. Of course, we got this from Charles and Pat as well. This was for the largest kids derby in Algoma or largest kids derby in Canada, one of the two, I don't know, but this came from their derby up there, and what a success. All kinds of logos on the back, but love seeing stuff like that. And of course, as I mentioned, it is ladies' night, and if it wasn't 100 friggin' degrees out, I'd be wearing this right now. But Yvonne said, does it fit? I said, you know what? I think America One is looking for a sale. Yeah, it'll fit. Trust me, it'll fit. It's going to fit just fine. How's everybody tonight? Who's in the house here? We got Steve Shaw. Yeah, baby. Tony's here. How you doing, Tony? Thanks for all your support on the weekend with all of our podcasts. We're going to get to that, all of our lives, I should say, with the NOWT. Lloyd, all the way from Saskatchewan. We're going to look forward to seeing you, my friend, coming up at the OFC Nation retreat, which is going to be happening soon. Ed McKenzie in the house. Always a pleasure to see you, Ed. Stevens here. Nice to see you as well. There's a wacky here. Holy smokes. Sparkus, are you on the water? I bet you're on the water right now. Trisha, are you with him? I'm just kidding. Nice to see you as well, Trisha. Richard, we've got lots of announcements. Obviously, that boy right now is losing count of the number of orders that are coming in for our hats and our hoodies. Michael Consul, all the way from Manhattan. Wow, I'll tell you, that's dedication right there. Pete LeDuc. Now you got to go outfit. Yes, absolutely, I do, Pete. Hope everything's going well in your world, dude. Haven't talked to you in a bit, but nonetheless, I always think of you CFNers. Larry McDonald's in the house. I think you were concerned you were late last week, but you're right on time this week, Larry. So nice to see you as well. Hey, Pascal, it was an honor to meet you as well, my friend. Absolute honor. And to that, I have to say what an incredible weekend it was. But before I get to that, of course, with Mike listening, the CFN Fish Off is officially over. Now the hard part. We got to start handing out all the prizes. So please be patient to that. As I said, Mike has already given me a list. I believe he has a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that has all your addresses on it. So we will be getting to that momentarily in the next week. I'm planning to get as many out as I possibly can because I hate when you guys have to wait for prizes. I absolutely hate that. So, and Mike knows. So unless we get all the prizes out, I have said and mandated with Mike, we cannot run another CFN Fish Off event until we do. So now the onus is on me. So we'll get to that. Speaking of which, the NOWT was this weekend. And with that, I want to share with you the winning weight or the winners, if you will, and how it all went down right at the end. It's really cool. Have a listen.
Here we go. 2 overs. 5.34 pounds with those 2 overs.
So you're allowed 2 overs
5.34.
and 4 unders.
This is literally going to come down.
Or 6 unders.
The
Or a
last
combination of 1 over and 5 under. They needed...
With those 2 overs, there's only 4 unders that they're allowed to weigh in next.
Pounds.
Depending on the quality of these unders, will determine who's taking home the hardware. Okay, they do have 4 unders. They got a bag of 4 unders. They need 2.70 pounds to take the lead and the win here at Hearst. They've been here before. They've been in this position many, many times. Nobody handles it better than these 2. I don't know who's more nervous, those on the hot seat or the 2 standing over there. But needless to say, Chantal, she's got her head down. I think she knows, or she's having a stroke, one of the 2. Chantal's going to let us know, with these 4 fish, is it enough to take the lead and the win for Steve Gravel and Kevin Robineau? All right, lads, you enjoyed your beer. I can hear that they're empty. Are your hopes and dreams empty with these 4 unders? 6.200 pounds, and your winners, Kevin Robineau and Steve Gravel.
Those 2 are incredible sticks. They are a force to be reckoned with no matter what tournament you're running. If it has anything to do with walleye, those boys are in the top 10 as favorites for me any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But more than that, they are gentlemen, true sportsmen. They would literally give you the shirt off their back. They are just a treat. And I have to say this. When it comes to the NOWT, a lot of people ask, Scotty, why do you drive so far? Why do you do it? And it's that right there. And what you don't even get to see with that video is just how great the people are in the North. Like absolute gems. One other gem I do have to bring up as well, of course, is the venue that we were at. Martin and Jules, I tell you, incredible hosts. Certainly catered to your every whim. But what I want to mention more so than the summer, because a lot of their plots are already booked and they have lots of summer business. What they're looking to build is the snowmobile, sledders, and they have like 300 kilometers of trails that go all through this area. It's literally 15 minutes up the road from Hearst. It's literally an hour and a bit north of Cochrane, and I know. I've heard a lot of you sledders complain from the GTA going up to Cochrane. It's like the 401 up there on the weekends. This is one place that I would recommend if you're going for sledding in the winter and you're looking for good snow, good trails, a great restaurant. This is a great resort. And as I said, Martin and Julie will certainly cater to your every needs. Their food at the restaurant is top shelf. They have fuel on hand all the time, loads and loads of parking. This was just the prelim. As I said, that parking lot was completely full on the Saturday, but loads of parking, loads of accommodations. As I said, yeah, it is a bit of a drive, but if you're going to drive to Cochrane and deal with that mess that is there, I highly recommend going a little bit further up the road to Hearst and make sure you mentioned to Julie and Martin that I sent you, and who knows, you might get a free beer or a pat on the back, a hug, who knows. But needless to say, it is definitely worth the trip. So there is that. I want to also bring to mention, of course, this is upcoming and very, very soon. In the blink of an eye, it's going to be here September 22nd. It is the Made in Canada Tackle Show 2. This is our second go at it. Really excited because we've changed up a little bit of the format. We are going to be setting up on the Saturday. For those vendors that are coming to set up on the Saturday, we have organized a pig roast in the parking lot. And Brad is currently in the process of making sure that we have somewhat of a liquor license so that we can enjoy a beer or two while we're enjoying our pulled pork and whatever else. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of other stuff that's brought as well. But needless to say, we're looking forward to the second version of the Made in Canada Tackle Show. And Marketplace, the first one was a success, and we were happy to announce that. I know fall shows are rare. Hunting season starts. Fishing season is just wrapping up, so it's an awkward time to host a show like this. But we're going out on a limb. We've got a lot of vendors that have already signed up, and of course, we just finalized Big Jim, who's going to be there as well. So if you want to join me and the rest of the crowd, we'd love to see you there. This is the second edition of the Made in Canada Tackle Show, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. As I mentioned, Richard Dunlop is currently right now taking orders for FlexFit hats, as well as these gorgeous light-wearing hoodies. If you want a light hoodie, a very light-wearing hoodie that is extremely durable because the fabric is phenomenal. These are smart-looking hoodies, really nice-looking hoodies, and I couldn't have chosen a better mannequin than Richard Dunlop to show these off. So, Richard, thanks so much for that, bud. You are a true gem. If you want one, please get a hold of Richard Dunlop, and hopefully we can throw his name down if he's not watching. He was watching earlier, so maybe just say something, Richard, and say yes. The phones are on. We're taking orders. Stay tuned. Be patient. We'll get to you. Also, thanks again to Horwood Lake Lodge for what was an incredible CFN retreat. We are going to be continuing to make posts. Monday, Monster Monday posts, Walleye Wednesday posts. There's a whole bunch of content that we were able to grab from Horwood, and we're going to continuously pump that out. This will definitely be a Monster Monday, as my good buddy Walt, who I shared the water with and a dinner with. We had and a lot of laughs and some good times. He caught himself his personal best smallie. That is an 18-inch smallie right there, and he flew all the way from Saskatchewan to battle these bronzebacks again, and he did so in fine form. That wasn't the only one he caught. He caught many others, so a big shout-out to my buddy Walt. And, of course, this is upcoming, OFC Nation, and our OFC retreat. If you want to be amongst this group, please get a hold of Tracy. Oh, that's right. No, I'm sorry. It's booked solid. That's right. We don't have any room. Well, in that case, have a look at the promo. So if you're kicking tires and looking for a place to go that has incredible fishing and is on the beautiful waters of Georgian Bay, look no further. Camp McIntyre.
Yeah, baby! Macintosh 2023!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. That's it for me for announcements. We've got lots upcoming this week, but we have the lovely and beloved Yvonne Brown coming up next, right after a word from our sponsor.
What is Flash Boost? Shimano designed innovative Flash Boost technology. It keeps flashing, which attracts fish whether in a pause or while retrieving. The mirror plate, which is fixed by a spring inside the body, vibrates with the lure action to generate diffuse reflection. Even if you stop the lure action, the inner plate will move and continue to flash, giving the lure a sense of life and inviting a fish bite. This is Flash Boost.
There she is, the one and only Yvonne Brown. Come on down.
Daddy.
How you doing, Yvonne?
I'm well. I'm really good.
That's awesome. Thanks again, for the towel. I really appreciate this. And as I said, once that sweaty, steamy heat disappears, or I find a sailboat that needs a jib, I'll make sure to throw this on. I'm just kidding.
Is your arm on the side? I mean, your arm on the side. Is your name on the arm?
I don't know. I never even looked. Well, it is. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Oh, that's so cool.
Okay, good.
Wow. Thank you so much. I didn't even notice. Thanks for pointing that out. But these are nice. I love the color blue. So you've won me over with OWA, but you've done that many times before. So no need to bring it up. But I will say this in terms of bringing things up. I know you have a couple of announcements. We have a special guest, Theresa, coming on from Waterfalls Lodge, who I'm looking forward to talking to. I had a lot of fun up at the Kids Derby in Algoma. And we hit it off right off the bat. And when she told me about this ladies event, and I will say this, it was a hot day, but I was as red as the sun. Teresa's someone that, if you want to go down that road, she's going to hand you your hat, and you better be ready. So I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, I know you've got a few announcements that you want to discuss and unveil. So by all means, go ahead.
Well, I was on last week just to talk about the Muskie event, and we still have 2 spots open for the morning shift. That's 8 to 11:30, and then we have 7 spots open for the afternoon shift, and that's 1:30 to 4.
And that's this, right? That's
that one. Yes,
that one. Okay. So and if they need or want to get a hold of you, is there an address on there? Or did they just get a hold of you directly?
If they scan the QR code, it brings them right to the registration page that has all the information about the event.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We've got a new website, but it's not I still have to make adjustments. We had to create it. We had to make it live without having all the updates. So that it's not on the website yet, but like I said, that QR code will bring you to the Eventbrite page. The other thing that I just put out today actually is I'm having a little for sort of the ladies in more eastern part of the province. It's a corn boil barbecue social meet and greet type thing for any of our members or any women in the community that might be interested in meeting other members or learning more about the organization, and just come and spend an afternoon out in the country. And yeah, well, I don't know. I was going to offer skeet shooting too, but I don't think I'll do that. We have a skeet machine that shoots at the clays, and we have family and friends over sometimes, so we go in the backfield and we do that. And
wow. That actually would be pretty cool. I can't honestly say I've ever shot at a skeet. I've never done it. I've never done that. I've certainly done target practice, and I've shot a few different types of guns, but I've never done that. And I got a tip of the hat to you folks that are able to hit those darn things. Not a chance.
It takes practice, but it is a lot of fun, especially when you have people that have never handled guns before. And it's a shotgun, and it's a 20 gauge, so it's not a real powerful kick, and it's got a youth stock, so it's good for women and maybe those who don't have a far reach. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and we're very safe, and
you ladies are definitely busy. You've got the Muskie event coming up, you've got the meet and greet at your place, and then of course I believe you're doing a Christmas event too.
Yeah, we're doing the Christmas event on November 30th, and that's at the OFAH Hunting and Fishing Heritage Center. And in September, again, it's sold out, but we've got 40 ladies going to Scotsman's Point Resort on Buckhorn Lake. That's our fall trip this year.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, looking forward to that too. And cool. Actually, the Muskie event's happening on the same weekend.
Oh wow! And I also believe that you're heading to Wisconsin.
Yes, I think I mentioned it last week. So the sort of the end of year event for the Wisconsin Women Fish Group, Fishing Club for Women, is early October. It's the first weekend of October, and so I'm heading down on a Wednesday because it's almost a 2-day drive, like an hour and a half drive, and I have to stay overnight probably in the Sioux. Yeah, and so I haven't seen these ladies. I saw them before COVID at a different event they held near Kenora, but this is only the second time I've been to Fish Camp, and they have like 74 spots that are open, and they take over 3 resorts. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of these ladies. Some of them I only saw during the first Fish Camp. So, with COVID and everything else, family stuff came up, but
100%.
I was determined. I said the beginning of the year, or even last year, I said, I am going to Wisconsin in 2024.
That's awesome. Well, if you could do me, I have one ask. Can you give my dearest friend Barb a kiss on the cheek for me?
I will.
I love that lady. She is just awesome. I think what she's doing with that boat, at a timeline in her life that, some would think of maybe, recoiling and stepping back a little bit. No. She's like 100 miles an hour straight at the wall. And what she's doing currently right now, taking people out and rebuilding that boat. And she's an awesome.
So she's a licensed boat captain.
Yep.
And she does charters and all that now too. But, she's involved with like Clam, St. Croix. Can't remember some of the other sponsors, but again, it's a club just because of where they are. Ice fishing is a huge thing, and they have a lot of like gatherings throughout the winter. My next trip maybe will be a winter trip.
Nice. I do believe that she was a police woman at one point, and I tell you, I would not want to be on the wrong side of a nightstick with her. I'll tell you.
She's been a woman. She ran a petting zoo at one time. Yeah, she's got a funny career.
Unreal. Any other announcements before we introduce our special guest?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, before we bring in Theresa, and I will prepare all of you right now, she will be the life of the party. I had the chance to meet her up at the Algoma Children's Derby, and we hit it off right away. She is a gem, and I'm looking forward to talking to her about a ladies' event that's upcoming. I believe it's soon. It's very soon. But anyway, we'll get Theresa to talk about it. But here, she's at Waterfalls Lodge. And if you want to know where Waterfalls Lodge is and what it's all about, have a look at this.
Waterfalls Lodge is a fishing and hunting lodge that has established a reputation for quality and service. It's a place where you can experience the convenience of a drive-to resort and the seclusion of a fly-in lodge. The main lodge complex has everything you need to enjoy an incredible Canadian fishing lodge experience. The dining room provides delicious home-cooked meals, a fully stocked bar, plus games for all ages. People rave about the food. It's superb and delicious. A perfect complement to a full day of fishing. But there's a lot more to Waterfalls Lodge than just fishing. Serenity, incredible natural beauty, magnificent wildlife, and world-class fishing. Waterfalls Lodge accommodations are pristine as well. They have large and comfortable cabins that are beautifully appointed and meticulously maintained. Various sized cabins are available for all types of groups. Every morning, the dock staff at Waterfalls Lodge ensure your boat is always ready to ensure you have a relaxing and fun-filled day on the water. But truly, the best thing about Waterfalls Lodge is the magnificent fishing. Fishing for trophy northern pike, huge walleye, plus fat smallmouth bass. With over 14 miles of chain lakes, plus numerous remote lakes in the area, there is no end to the places you can fish. You can even arrange for an ATV day trip to other lakes in the region, a unique opportunity to explore new waters. Whether you fly fish or use conventional tackle, the fishing at Waterfalls Lodge is fantastic. Waterfalls Lodge has numerous great plans to fit any budget. Check out their website or give them a call. They can tell you all about the different plans available. Perfect for every size group and every budget. This is truly an angler's dream trip. It is something special, a place you'll never forget. Come as a guest and leave as a friend.
That's great.
Good evening, Theresa. Is that the phone I hear ringing in the background already?
Yeah, it is.
Well, welcome to CFN and CFN Live, and of course, yet another edition of Ladies' Night. I can't think of anybody better to bring on a Ladies' Night than yourself, and of course, what you are going to be discussing when it comes to the ladies' event that's upcoming at Waterfalls Lodge. But first, if you can add any more than the video has already told us, tell us a little bit more about Waterfalls Lodge.
So Waterfalls Lodge is just an absolutely beautiful place to come. The fishing is fantastic. The staff are really what make the experience for the guests, along with the fish. So there isn't a staff member that you won't meet that won't give you either pointers, tips, tell you what we're catching on, where's the hot spot. We'll mark it on a map for you. We'll even take you out if you're having an issue and show you where it needs to be. Our guides are phenomenal. They've been there for about 20 some odd years. Both of them know the lay of the land. The water is fantastic, and they know how to put you on fish, whether that's on Main Lake, which is a full series chain, or whether that's out back on our remote tours. They're fantastic.
Wow. The scenery is quite, like it's remarkable. Yvonne, I'm going to let you take it from there. As I just sit here and drool over this wonderful scenery.
So your event, the women's event, is September 20th to 22nd?
Correct.
Is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on that weekend?
So it's called Ladies at the Lodge, and the idea kind of formulated after speaking to Charles Drash, and I realized that not a lot of women anglers are given the opportunity to have just a women's only event in Algoma. So I wanted to start something at the lodge where women could come and experience each other with the camaraderie, learn from some of the best. So we spoke to Nicole Vachel and Lorianne Horse. They'll be coming up, and they'll be our, shall we say, guest speakers for the weekend. They'll be talking about how fishing has impacted them and their future goals with fishing. They're going to come in and pre-fish the lake and be able to help our women that are coming to the lodge experience the best fishing while they're at the lodge. Along with that, we'll do guided UTV trips out to our remote lakes with our guide. We'll also have archery on site for them to learn archery. And then we have some PG bingo, because Scott told me I couldn't say what I was really going to do with the bingo. So it's keeping it PG. It's just a women's only. You might get a treat. Can I say it yet, Scotty, or what?
You can. You know what, Theresa? You've gone this far. You've been this good. I'll let the cat out of the bag.
Dirty bingo. So
Dirty bingo.
For sex toys at night. And we'll have some roasted marshmallows, s'mores called drunken s'mores. We'll be soaking them out in some bourbon, and then we'll be roasting some marshmallows at the communal pit down on the beach. So all about camaraderie, all about learning to fish, loving to experience what we have to offer in Algoma, and hopefully have one hell of a great time with a bunch of women.
Great. Oh, it sounds like a lot of fun.
It does. And it was funny because when I did start speaking to Theresa about it, I wish I could be a woman for a weekend, because it sounded like it was so much fun. But yeah, in regards to some of the events that go on, they're definitely geared towards fun. They're definitely geared towards getting a good laugh, maybe making your face red a little bit, as it was when Theresa was telling me all about it. But needless to say, this is a beautiful lodge you have up there. Like, how long have you owned this lodge now, Theresa?
So I actually am not considered an owner. I'm considered a share investor with the owner.
Gotcha.
So I've been there over a year now. I started off with the previous owners and then stayed on with the new owners. And I am absolutely loving my job and the ability that Waterfalls affords me to meet people like you. We had a veterans event in the spring, and we brought up 50 military veterans that had experienced PTSD and brought them to a fishing event. and getting to meet these men and women and just be able to offer them the experience in the north and say, you know what, come fish for us, come be part of this. We are so excited to be able to offer a second annual Warriors Weekend. We're calling it Waterfalls Warrior Weekend. So we'll bring up 50 more military vets and have them stay at the lodge at no cost to the veteran. It is all fundraised. Myself, the local Legion, Charles Durash, we get on board and we fundraise. We had Danny Bacon and Nick Hudson came out for that event. And
Oops.
Oh, we lost her.
That happened before. It'll come back, I hope.
I hope so too. Yeah, and Danny, well, you put Nick and Theresa together. Oh, like forget it. Just forget it. Lights out.
Even I can't imagine like even she and Lorianne Horst in the same room, because it's very similar bubbly personalities, you know. And
well, and that's it, it's funny because of course Lorianne was going to join us tonight, and literally I was going to be like a referee and say, okay, ladies, enough. You can't talk like that. Because the conversation that I had with Theresa was just incredible, and she's a gem. But needless to say, if you're looking to have a good time, this lodge and that event is something you definitely want. There she is. She's back.
Good.
I don't know what happened there.
It's technology, and we're used to it.
I can't hear any of you guys. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep.
Oh no.
Okay, well, I'll keep talking and you just tell me up or down.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, the Warriors Summit was fantastic. We're looking at round 2 of it. And it was all fundraised. So every military vet was brought there free of charge and got to spend the weekend. Round 2 is coming up. We're looking at having even possible 2 in a year so that all the veterans across Canada can come and experience what Waterfalls has to offer. I have great people in my corner like Danny, Nick, Marilisa. She came out and she spoke. Charles was there. Rolly came up from New Brunswick. And, you know, we had just such a fantastic time that the lodge has allowed me to be able to meet so many wonderful people and to talk to them about fishing. Truly, we have probably premier smallmouth bass. You're pulling an 18 and a half, 18 and 19, 21 inch. Today, just as I was leaving, we had a grandpa and a little boy show up about 8 years old. Grandpa was in paying the bill. Little boy runs out to the dock, drops his rod in with his red and white bobber on the top, right off the end, starts screaming, "Grandpa, Grandpa." He goes running out, scoops up a 30-inch pike right off the main dock.
Oh, wow.
So we have premier fishing, and it's nice to be able to offer that to anyone in the area that wants to do it. We also are hunting. I mean, right now we're in bear season. We've had our first hunt through successfully, and we are baiting and ready for our hunters. Moose is coming up. We're in all season. We are going to be open this winter. We were open last winter as well. So we will be open this winter, which we're trying to break into that snowmobile market because we traditionally were not open. So this year will be year 2. Let's hope it snows because I know my sled never got off the trailer. So let's hope it snows and we can bring in some guys, some women, and then ice fishing. I mean, we can do big water out on Huron because our proximity is so close, but we also have all the inland lake chain system too. So we really have the best of both worlds. It's my opinion, but I'm a little tainted.
Now, I don't know if you can still hear us.
No, I still can't hear anything you guys are saying.
Look at the question down below.
I'll look.
I don't think she can see the screen.
Oh. Now you're muted.
Again?
Oh.
Can you hear us now, Theresa?
I still can't hear you guys, but
can you see the question down below?
You're telling me to do something to Yvonne?
No. Right. Look down below the question along the.
Type it?
No, it's already.
I'm not good at charades.
This is
Dirty bingo, maybe.
I know. Well, Steve, I'm doing my best to try and get your question answered, dude.
Backlake Adventures. Any chance for a trophy brook trout?
There you go.
So brook trout, we have No brook trout on our back lake tours, but we do have lake trout in our main chain lake system, but no brookies on our back lake, unfortunately. But I probably could hook you up with a guide in the area that would take you out for brook trout.
Awesome. Next question down below.
Whoops.
So this will be the first women's event that we're running at the lodge. The following weekend after our Ladies at the Lodge event, which is more the cut loose, have fun, fish, and experience the North. The second weekend after that weekend, we have an Ignite Your Fire. So it's about women coming together in a retreat that they will learn from a nutritionist, experiencing menopause, discussing life as women as we age and where we are and how we can experience things by dietary change, fish, natural eating, wholesome eating, yoga, a little bit of Zen, probably a little more Zen than I need because I always get kicked out of that stuff. Give me the fish and the beer drinking, throwing some lures down, but I can send women that way if they want to be real chill and do some yoga.
That's hilarious. That's funny stuff. Well, unfortunately, with Theresa not able to hear us, we can't really ask any further questions. But we could do it, I guess, via the chat. But needless to say, sounds like second word.
Oh my God.
Or I can sign if you want.
Well, I don't know if Theresa can read it, but do you have anything else you want to talk about? I don't know if she can read lips.
Sure. American Sign Language, whatever you're doing, I'm good.
Okay, well, this is a first. This is a first. We have never had a situation like this happen where we had video and no audio. So this is different.
I don't think I have anything else to say, Scotty.
Okay.
I have a girlfriend running back and forth telling me, so I don't look like the dumb blonde here, but I don't think I have anything I need to add other than I appreciate you. Yvonne, I'm envious of you going to Buckhorn, but I absolutely suggest if you're down in that area, stop on the Burnt River in Irondale and fish for those muskie there. You're going to pull muskies that are monsters out of the Burnt. And you'll have a blast at Buckhorn as well.
Okay.
See you later, Theresa.
See you on the fly, guys.
Yeah, baby. Well, I tell you, she is a firecracker. It's a shame it didn't have sound and we weren't able to get into some more conversations. I know with Lorianne, we would have probably had to bump up the PG rating to perhaps something else. But yeah, she is a firecracker, a lot of fun to be around. And if you are going to Waterfalls Lodge or thinking about going to a lodge, definitely think about them because they will ensure that you're going to have a good time. She's like a lot of the lodge owners that I meet they're just so engaged to their clientele and making sure that their customers are having a good time. Theresa is no different. So
I was looking at their website and they run many different types of events. Like I saw that one Feminine Fire that she was talking about. But yeah, it looks like they're pretty active and they put a lot on for their clients.
100%. And as I said, from what I can see from the videos that they shared, all the cabins that, they're all 4 stars, if not 5. The food, as I've heard from Danny and Nick, the food is like amazing. So if you go there, make sure you're not on a diet. Because if you are, it might end the minute you show up. Only 5 hours from Arnprior, Richard. Absolutely, and it's an amazing place. Charles, thanks so much for that. Yvonne, before we let you go, is there any last words that you wanted to share with us before you do?
No, I'll probably remember something as soon as I sign off, but nothing comes to mind.
Well, as always, thanks again for spending some time with us. We really appreciate these ladies events and these lady nights that we do here on CFN. It engages, it engages your audience as well as ours. But I just love the combination of the two communities, and I hope we can keep these going for as long as we're on this earth.
Yeah, we're thinking more along the lines of doing more like collaborative stuff. To engage newer audiences and other audiences to learn a little bit more about us. So, it's the way to go. Share resources.
Right on. Thanks so much, Yvonne. You have yourself a great week, and thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
We'll see you soon, Scotty.
Right on. We got Jason and Jim coming up right after a word from their sponsors.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have. Thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural. Man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
There they are, the ones and only Big Jim McLaughlin and, of course, Jay Barnucz.
What is happening, gentlemen?
I see we're in the dark.
I'm hiding in the dark.
Is there a theme? Is there a theme going on
at the lake?
Yeah, we're telling secrets tonight, buddy. We're telling secrets tonight. So those of you that aren't here, you're gonna miss out. Ooh.
So I got some what do they call the game? Cabbage something. Don't forget what they are. They're from Northland.
Yeah.
And I tied hair on and put a little rhythm wave on the back.
Nice.
And I went down the back, and it was so funny. I'd never fished with it, so I put it in the water right beside the seawall to see it. Eh? So I dropped it down about a foot, and I pulled it back up, and the 3-pounder swims out and eats it. It was on the seawall. So I haven't even cast it. And so I don't set the hook. I want to see what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So he just swims down, up and down the seawall. I'm watching him. He took a couple of feet of line, came back in, and then he's looking right at me, and he goes like that and just spits it out. You just saw it tumble in the water. I could have caught him, but I had more fun not catching him.
Wow. Said Scotty never. Usually when they spit, that's my release. Yeah, guys, I caught a fish and I just released it. Yeah. And then I can say it was 3 pounds, 4 pounds because I never held the damn thing up. No, I love it. But Jay, I want to first say welcome back, dude, because I know you had a tough week. For all those who didn't know, like myself, Jay unfortunately lost his father recently, and then got a bout of pneumonia and has been battling that. But nice to see you're back in the saddle, and of course, our condolences, my friend. We're certainly thinking about you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's just been a crazy month. Like sometimes life just keeps throwing things at you, you know, and sometimes you can dodge a few punches, and sometimes you got to take a couple on the chin. So just how it's been. But, you know, thank God we got fishing, right, guys? Like,
Amen.
We can, you know, I was busy. So for about 2 weeks, I was busy with family, helping out, getting dad's arrangements. I was the executor of his estate, and I still am, and dealing with a few things. But, you know, I had some time, and I took some vacation days in between things and put some beatings on a few fish here and there just to kind of keep my head in the game, you know, guys.
You had one there that looked like a real porker.
Yeah, like Jim, I was going to mention this to you guys. Like, we have been catching, and I saw a post from Colin down at Lake St. Clair last week too about all the largemouth he's catching. These things are feeding up right now. Like, I haven't seen that one I showed last week, Jim. That was only an 18.5-inch fish, and it was 4.4 on the scale, and we checked it like twice. Like, it was fat, like unbelievable. And then Trevor had a 17 3/4, like just shy of 18 inches, and it was over 4, like a 4.2. Like, these things are they're just like, you pick them up and they're just dense, like they're just feeding like crazy right now. And that's everywhere we've been. And then I saw Colin's post, and I'm like, that's really cool. Everyone's just feeding up right now. It's amazing right now. And
I caught a little one out the back
on the largemouth side.
Yeah, I caught a little one out the back here a couple of nights ago. Just a little guy. It was about 2 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, it literally, I was looking for the vent on him where you put the air hose to fill them up.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was like, it was like, it probably weighed 2 pounds, but it should have weighed like a pound 9th or something.
Yeah.
It was just incredible the way it's eaten. And I've heard so many guys from over that way talking about catching largemouths. And, like you got guys on there saying, geez, I'm catching all these largemouths. I never catch it. Well, it's not that they just got there. You know what I mean? They had to be there. They're all 3, 4, 5 pounds. I think you're just maybe hitting something that's just right all at the same time.
Some of these fish, now I got nothing to go back on because some of the areas we've been fishing this year are like new areas to us. Like, so if you guys know, like that Long Point Bay area, like it's a huge area. You can't fish it all in a lifetime. It's incredible how much water there is. And Trevor and I have purposely been against his better judgment. I make him go places he's never been. I make him get out of his comfort zone. I make him learn new water and learn how to tackle new water. And I'm trying to teach him how to keep his head in it when things aren't going right and figure out the pattern for that day, for that area. It doesn't mean it's going to be the same pattern the next time you go there. And so, for example, Jim, you'll appreciate this. Like, you fish with in Scotty too, like you'll fish with a friend who's anxious to go fishing, right? You take them out there, and I don't care whether you're 4 or 44, you see them get bored. Like they just want to run, like, let's just run 25 miles that way. Well, guess what? I'm in a kayak, so we're not doing that, number one. Number two, there's fish around. Like we are surrounded by a marsh, wetland. I know that there's bass, there's pike, there's bowfin, we just aren't figuring out how to get them. So here I am. It's like, Trevor, we got this giant box of tackle. Everything you could ever imagine. You got 7 rods in your kayak. Figure it out, man. Figure it out. Let's go. And next thing you know, our pattern that day was, on this particular day, was we found this cut that I think is from duck boats going in the marsh. But it's only 3 feet deep at the max, probably only 2 foot average. And it comes up to 1 foot on the sides. Like it's only a foot of water. That's where we were getting the fish, and we were getting them on frogs. And you would throw your frog out, and I think the bigger fish would actually they were like laying in like a little pocket, but they weren't moving. But once you brought the frog past them, you would see them, like it was so shallow, you'd see their dorsal fin sharking behind the frog. But now that they didn't just come out of the woodwork like that. You had to find them because they weren't roaming. They were like hunkered down and they were on ambush points, like you'd see a little tuft of weed on the edge of this little cut. And that's where it was. And you had to present that frog. If you cast it on one angle, you didn't get a reaction. And then if I moved to the other angle, made a cast across the other way, I'd get a reaction. You know what I mean? Like, so they were on it though. Like when they were on it, they choked it, but you had to be patient at each sort of key spot that you found them on. Does that make sense? Like it was.
Oh yeah, 100%. And you mentioned it's a foot deeper. That's a giant drop off.
Huge.
That's
huge.
Like a huge structure. It's completely different, and that's the kind of thing. I've caught fish in things like you talk about in lots of places. We used to look on maps for little creeks coming in. There'll be a little blue line on the map.
Yeah.
And you go and you look and there isn't much there, but then you look and you realize that it's like this. There's that indentation.
Just a little indent. Yeah, just a little.
We'd hit spots like that. Yeah, first thing in the morning, like just as soon as the tournament started, we might have 2 or 3 spots like that. It'd be like 10 minutes at each one. And sometimes you'd get 2 or 3 fish, and they were all big fish. Well, not necessarily big, good ones. You very seldom got small ones because these are prime spots. And I think the fish just go there because they can.
Yeah.
Jay, I know you sent over some pictures. Unfortunately, I've got to turn the Wi-Fi on the phone in order to share, but I will make sure that I get those off to Steve for some edits because they are. I'm just looking at them now. Like beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fish. Gentlemen, when I was up in Hearst in the body of water, it's a 5-lake chain, and you talk about being shallow, Jay. I was absolutely amazed at how shallow these walleye were being caught. The 732 that came in the first day as big fish was caught in 7 feet of water. Now, as amazing as that was, the bigger fish, which was caught on day 2, which was 932, and from what I understand is that lake's like record, because I've never seen a fish that big, was caught in like 8 or 9 feet of water. Now, it's not a very deep lake, mind you. They've only got a few holes that are around the 40-foot mark. But I think what I was more amazed at was the quality of fish that you're able to catch this time of year in any body of water where, you know, the surface temp is like 70 degrees plus.
Yeah, or warmer. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I was going to tell you my walleye story, Scott. I went walleye fishing, Scotty, for one afternoon up at the cottage.
Scotty's proud of you.
The lake that we cottage on doesn't have a lot of walleye in it. And I think they're just too bloody tasty. I think they've just been chased for too long. So while we were up there, and you guys saw some of the photos Trevor's been putting up while we were at the cottage, he got on this, get this, Jimmy, he went out looking for smallmouth with Ned rig. Okay, great bait for smallmouth. And there's some 19, 20-inch class smallmouth in this lake. He kept catching largemouth in smallmouth spots on a Ned rig. And big ones, like 19 inches, 20 inches, like unbelievable. Like, and
where is this again?
He figured out, like, basically what it got his brain. It kind of messed him up at first because he's like, I just want to catch a big smallmouth. I didn't bring any of my largemouth stuff. He didn't have a swim jig and a tied on, didn't have a flipping jig tied on, and all he's catching is big largemouth. And it's because he went out with like a different mindset, right? So I did the same thing. I actually went out with my net rig. I'm like, I got to catch a 20-inch largemouth. He's catching them at will, for crying out loud. So I went to this little cove that we fish, and this cove, it's a big horseshoe. Okay, so this horseshoe cove, and there's all this beautiful, like, well, a lot of guys would call it musky weed, but that big, large leaf pondweed, right? So that stuff grows up to about 7 feet of water, and then it doesn't grow anymore. But out past that, in like 8, 9, 10 feet of water, out to like 14, it grows like there's like a little grass on the bottom. It's only like as long as your finger. So I'm out there and I'm like, I'm going to drag a Ned rig around this grass. And I had to use a really light Ned rig, like a 1/32. I'm only in like 7 to 10 feet of water. 1/32, and the wind's blowing in on me. So I got my kayak facing the wind, and I'm just pedaling to kind of keep position. So I'm just throwing it out ahead of me. And dude, this is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun's shining, the wind's blowing a bit. And dude, I'm just catching walleye after walleye after walleye after walleye on a Ned rig that I got off my kid out of his kayak because I wanted to use the color he was catching all these bass on. And now I'm catching walleye. So he's catching big largemouth. I'm catching walleye. The whole day was just topsy-turvy. Yeah, pickerel, that's right.
Pickerel.
Alicia,
you spelled pickerel wrong.
Yeah, that's right. But it was just very cool. Now, they weren't big, Scotty. These were like, you know, I'm going to say they're probably like 12 to 16 inches, like not big walleye. But the walleye in this lake are a real mystery. It's a small lake. It's close to Barry's Bay. I think over the years, it's just been really hit hard for walleye. But here I am catching all these little walleye on this Ned rig. And I think over the years, we've been going there for almost 10 years. We've probably only caught 10 walleye in 10 years. And I caught almost like 6 in about 7 casts in this one spot on a Ned rig. Isn't that something?
Incredible.
Amazing. Just sometimes it's just things just happen outside the box that maybe we can't explain. But I will say this, though. I learned a lot about how to use that Ned rig in the weeds. And if you're willing to go light, and if you're willing to be patient and let that thing sink down, it does not snag up that much. That you can, they're not weedless. This wasn't a weedless Ned rig setup, but I was impressed how we could work that through sparse cover without getting snagged up. It was honestly impressive, and the trick was just using as light a weight as you can get away with, which is what they've taught us with Ned.
Yeah, so it never sinks into the weed.
It never really sinks in. It always just kind of hovers along the bottom, right? Just kind of hovers along. Really, I'll admit I'm not a huge Ned rig guy. I haven't played around with it enough, but I learned a ton up there this year, and I literally tied it on and I kind of threw it around everywhere, just trying to learn it. And I was impressed with the versatility of it. Really, really was.
Well, I gotta mention this thing again, and like I don't work for these guys, they're nothing like that. But that's 3/16 of an ounce.
Yeah.
Right there. You can see the shape of it. It's got the little weed guard there, the titanium weed guard. You know what my backyard's like, Scotty. I never picked a weed off that tonight.
Really?
Never picked a weed off it.
And it's thick as it's a forest in there right now.
Well, it's gone off the top in that, but all the stuff down below is left.
Right.
Oh, wow.
But I already inquired. When I came up to the top here, I sent Noel, who's my contact with Northland, and I said to him, I sent him a note. And I said to him, hey, how do I get the bulk bags of these? Like, I mean, I think the guys in the Kawarthas would kill for them.
Yeah, that's true. Like
they're really, really cool. But when you're talking about shallow water, I did a show years ago with Mark Pendlington.
Yep, Mark Pendlington. Yeah,
you remember him? He flew me up to Dawson Creek, and we went to this place to fish for trout. And we got there, and we couldn't get access. There was a fire, a forest fire. It wasn't anything like that, but there was they didn't want you going there. So some guy said something to him about some other area, and he called and he got a hotel room and whatever. It was at one of those little sleep cheap motels, And we went up there. We actually were in northern Alberta, or was it BC? Whatever it was. We crossed from one province to the other because I remember going over seeing the provincial signs. This a long time ago. I don't really remember. All I remember was at the lake he brought me to. I go down to there's just like a stone boat launch. There's nobody there. You're in the middle of nowhere. Haven't seen a person for 4 hours, And we're down all these back roads and everything. We get there, there's picnic tables, there's little fireplace pits and everything. Just a great. Yeah, that's a spelling mistake there, I hope. It's a family show, eh, buddy? That's priceless.
You can't lose your wit. Love your wit.
So anyways, we get to the lake, and I look in the water, and I said to him, "My God, it's you can't even see in it. The tannic in it, was so strong." And I look at it, and I take one of the boat paddles, and I put it in the water, and the paddle goes like in this far. And I could only see the paddle like down to here.
Yep.
I never seen anything like it. So we get to about noon. We've caught some really nice fish, some nice walleyes. Mark got a really big pike on a big Vibrax. It was probably like 44 inches. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then what he wanted was a walleye show because he was working with Rapple at the time, and so was I. So I put on one of those gold-colored shad wraps. I think they call it crawdad, but it's gold.
Yep.
Well, tannic and gold, as we all know, go together very well.
Yep.
It just seemed to work, eh? So I cast it out. I winded it about 4 times, and it hits the bottom. And I thought, oh, geez, we're awful shallow. The water's only like, I don't know, like 25 inches deep. So I go to reel it back to the boat, and I was just about to say to him, do you want to move? And I go, bunks at the hook. It's like a 6-pound walleye. Just eats this thing, and it's like right in its mouth. They like the water. It's like 12 o'clock noon, glass calm.
Yeah.
And it went on for like 2 or 3 hours. We drifted on this rock flat. It went from like maybe 2 to 5 feet maximum. A couple of places like the motor, actually, you heard it on the bottom because it was down.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just absolutely incredible to catch fish. I had never had that happen to me, to catch fish, but they were beautiful too. They were those real dark gold ones.
Yeah.
Their backs were just black. Some of them were almost
the black back with that gold side. Like, oh yeah.
It's so deep. Some of the best ones I've ever seen like that, eh? But I don't know. I dare say, without a word of lie, on my mother's grave, 50 of them in the boat in like 4 or 5 hours, and a lot of them were like, well, not me, the two of us, and they were. The average size, like I don't think we caught one under 2.5.
Wow.
They were all like 3 to 5 pounds, that kind of stuff. Mark got one at the side of the boat, and the camera guy that he had was filming it, and they got off at the side.
Wow.
He was just trying to let it do its thing because it was really big. Yeah. But some of these fish would be like 5-pounders, would be the line coming out their mouth. And I mean, it's not that you were reeling it dead slow, letting them have lots of time to get it. Like I told you, the first one I got, I sped it up to get it back to the boat. And that's why I just started reeling fast. They just brushed it. But that happens too. Like you see on cloudy days in the Kawarthas, 4 or 5 feet of water, you can catch walleyes. If there's weed to hide, because the water's so clear there, it's tannic. But if they got a little bit of cover, you can catch them. Mississippi Lake here, just wild for them. 3, 4, 5 feet of water. I've caught them out there rip jigging, and piles of. Well, in fact, I was talking about that Great Day Chongan I had out there, and he caught the one that was almost 10 pounds out of chatterbait. That's like close to the biggest one maybe the second or third biggest one I've ever seen out of there. Bright sunny day, just a little chop. You had to use the electric if you wanted to move. But it's
it's kind of funny. Like so last week we were out on Erie and we were shallow fishing. I found an access point to a section of Erie I wanted to check out. It's funny with the kayak fishing now. Like you get out to there's areas I've fished the entire shore of Lake Erie from Fort Erie, like pretty much all the way to the Detroit River, but not from a kayak. And with the kayak, you have to figure out how the hell to get into some of these places, right? Without like traveling for 10, 20 miles. And so it's kind of cool now. It's like you're fishing these areas for the first time again. And Trevor and I went to an area that I'm familiar with, but I haven't been there for a long time. And we were told by a couple of friends that we will not catch any more smallmouth up shallow. We got to go deep to get them. And I said, you are losing your mind. I said, I can catch them shallow until the lake flips. And even then, if I get a warm enough day, late October, early November, I'll still catch them shallow. Like they do that. I'll admit.
Great Lake smallmouth do that.
For sure. And someone might have told me that I will never catch a fish on a hair jig past September 1st. And I'm like, you're telling me I won't catch a shallow smallmouth on a marabou jig after September 1st? I said, I will take that bet all day long. So I'm waiting for the calendar to flip because the first thing I'm going September 1st, I'm going smallmouth fishing. I will catch one on it. Like I caught them last week. These fish are so, I know some of the tournaments we did on Simcoe, like we're catching them in, like this was like the Bass Pro Shops Open. The one year I fished it with Richie Tripp, and we were catching them in less than 5 feet of water. Like it was rough as shit, and it was basically one guy controlled the boat and one guy fished. Like it was so hard.
Was I MC that year?
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
That was the year that they had the giant waves in Cooch, and I can only imagine what it was like out in Simcoe.
Yeah, it was awful. But we caught them. We caught them deep too. But we had a milk run of spots, and we had fish in like 5 to 10 feet, 10 to 20 feet, and 20 to 30 feet. And all of our bigger fish came in less than 10 feet of water. And I want to say it was so rough that day that some of those fish were in 5 feet or less. And you hear these stories about guys catching them and doing well in tournaments late in the season up shallow. And I think that a lot of us, we're so quick to leave the bank, and those fish are still there. And not just the Great Lakes, but I think a lot of lakes. Your walleye story is a good one, Jim, where we all are like, we don't think about going shallow. We just pass over all these great fish. And sometimes we just got to put our rod down and kind of put history behind us and just kind of fish a little more organically. You know what I mean? A little more instinctively.
Jason, like smallmouth fishing now is different than it was a decade or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's a completely different game. It used to be a deep water thing. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever caught smallmouth shallow because nobody ever fished for them. Or if they caught them shallow, they were this big.
True.
It was like that kind of thing. And then, once this smallmouth craze happened that we're experiencing right now, and I don't know, it seems to be leveling off just to me from what I see. Yeah. I'm not hearing as many wild stories about big fish this year. Like when I say big, I mean 8-pounders. I really thought we were going to have one that would be 10.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to happen for sure. But, I know they're out there. I'm sure there can't be as many 8s and 9s as there are without one growing to 10 somewhere,
You know, I'll add to that. I was talking with Derek Stroop when him and Bob were down fishing the TBBA tournament a few weeks ago. And I said to Trevor, I'm like, I saw a picture in the morning of Bob. He did a selfie with my friend Brad Thompson, who runs Turkey Point Marine. And I said, Trevor, Derek and Bob are fishing the tournament. We're going to the weigh-in today. I'm not a big weigh-in guy, but unless I'm in it or I'm helping, but I'm like, I'm going down. We're going to get a beer at the bar. Well, not Trevor, but he could drive me home. But we went there, and it was great just to see Derek. This is the day after he won the boat, the new Bass Cat, right?
I remember that he went home from here, because I was talking.
He drove straight to friggin' Long Point and entered a tournament, and they did pretty good. So I was talking with them, and Derek is just I was trying to explain to Trevor, because Trevor doesn't know Derek well. Derek follows Trevor on TikTok, which kind of impressed Trevor. But I said to him, I said, dude, you don't know how calculating this guy is. Like Derek Strube, he is a mathematician when it comes to smallmouth. He's one of the best. And I know he's kind of retired a bit now, but man, his brain's still as sharp as ever when it comes to smallmouth bass, for sure. And we were talking about it. And the condition, Jim, that day, a lot of the good teams did well fishing shallow because it was calm and clear water, right? On Erie.
Fishing, yeah.
Yep. And he said, he made a point. He goes, those big fish now, that is the pattern when it's calm and clear. But if you can find those big, deep fish, they're always a bit bigger. But they're harder to pattern on those calm days. Those calm days, those deeper fish, they kind of roam up off the bottom and they don't feed as much. It's those shallow fish that are more aggressive and more consistent. But he says it's still hard to beat deep fish no matter what time of the year. But those shallow fish in summer, they are really consistent on those calm, clear days. And it was cool to hear Derek talk about it. He went shallow too because he didn't have a big fish pattern going on.
I think the further east you go in the Great Lakes, the more prevalent the shallow bit is too.
Yes,
because
I think
when you get into the St. Lawrence River, the number of big smallmouths that are caught shallow.
Yeah.
I showed you the picture a few weeks ago of that fluff with no hair and the thread hanging off it.
Mm-hmm.
It was 36 or 37 fish that the guy caught. And most people, if you had a clicker and you realize at the end of the day how many 36 fish really is, you die. Especially when the rut would be 4.5.
Yeah.
And the guy was catching, the guy that got those fish that day, he told me, he said, Jim, the best day of smallmouth he ever had. He said, I could have weighed probably pretty close to 30. And then I could have thrown back 27 maybe.
And to your point, Jay, I had the privilege of fishing with Derek not too long ago, and he's like every other tournament angler I've ever fished with. Doesn't stay on a spot very, very long.
Yeah.
If he's worked it and he's caught nothing, doesn't see anything, he moves. And you didn't get comfortable on that boat. I will tell you that. We were constantly moving, and although he may
not like fishing with a Johnson. You can set up a tent at the back and have a little campfire and sandwiches at the back of the boat because you ain't moving.
Wow.
Once they spy them and see them, you're staying.
Yeah.
Is that right? Wow.
When there's nothing left, when you can see they're all gone, you're leaving.
That's right. We've hoovered them all up.
I remember him telling me one day, I was talking to Chris in front of Shimano and he was telling me about, we got into talking about it, and he said, when I pull up on a spot and I see 4, maybe 5 fish and they're in like 29 feet of water or something, he said, because he knows they're all giants.
Yeah.
It's what. Yeah. If he sees 30, they're probably all, 3-pounders to 4.5 pounders or something. Yeah. But when you see those little loose groups of 4, 5, 3, you know they're all big fish.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because almost similar behavior to that of walleye. Like typically if you have a school where you've got 20 or 30, 40, 50 fish, usually they're all the same size. They're all cookie cut. They're all smaller. You have that one rogue mark that as soon as you pull up onto any kind of bank or a hump or whatever, and you see that one arc, that's a rogue walleye, if it's a walleye lake, of course. But that's interesting. So very, very similar, the two fish.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I was talking to you the morning here when I was leaving. It was a conservation officer putting the boat back on the trailer. And I pull up and I look at him and he goes, "Oh, Big Jim." And he comes over and we start talking and everything, and we're chatting about that. And I said to him, "So what do you think about all the walleyes in the Big Reno all of a sudden?" And he looks at me, he goes, "Yeah." He says, like, obviously guys have known, they've been there for years, but it's really exploded. So I says to him, "Well," I said, "I got a buddy of mine, James, and he's a professional, highly paid deep sea diver. So what he does, like, he'd be the guy that you see at the bottom of the oil rig or something like that. And he was home, and he went out, and he was in the Big Reno, and he went diving below the Narrows locks, and his buddy followed with the boat up above, and he was diving along, and he has footage from a camera of him swimming through, like, probably 3 to 6 pound walleyes like this, just pushing them out of the way. Like,
so cool.
dozens and dozens and dozens of them. And right where I've probably caught 3 or 4 in my life that were close to double number fish in there, and they all came out of this exact spot, thinking I was fishing for smallmouth.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'd see them on the electronics as plain as day. It's in the same spot.
Yeah.
The other spot that they get them, I mean, I caught them there ice fishing a few times before we moved away from the area, and it was absolutely crazy. It would be the flasher would just be lit 4 feet deep, and that was right in front of the little river that comes in there that flows down from Perth. What is it again? I forget that. In the back of Beveridge Bay there, and it's they were staging there to spawn in the spring. And now I talked to several people. Ashley Ray caught one. She was shocked. She sent me a note right away. "Look, I caught this in the Big Reno." I said, "Mark that spot there, because there's probably more than there. There's beautiful, healthy fish." Over in Britain Bay, same thing. I know guys that have got them ice fishing for whitefish, 22, 24, 27 feet of water, over 80 and 90 in the wintertime. And like pop 6, 7, 8 of them, and then poof, they're gone. It's they're moving it. There's giant schools of them there. So you're going to see. Years ago, I saw Americans out there one year, and they were there for about a week. And where they trolled was right near the Narrows, where I saw these fish. And they had a great big skeeter walleye boat with all the planer masts and everything. And they were back and forth there all day. And they were clobbering them. They knew they were there because you go through the lock into Upper Reno or Little Reno in front of Westport there. They used to have a giant walleye run right in the creek in town. You used to look in there and see them. It was like I saw it a couple of times. I couldn't believe it. Like the water's this deep, and you're in the light in, and you got 500 sets of eyes looking at you like this. Like they're all over. It's really, really cool. Now that's
the thing about those lakes. Like Big Reno is a good example. It's a big shield lake, right? It's a lake trout lake. Let's be honest. There's lots of species in there, but it's a lake trout lake.
100%.
When you go through some of the ministry data from the Muskoka lakes, for example, like Lake Joseph, Lake Rosso, Lake Muskoka, huge walleye, huge. Like people they have no idea. Like we're talking double-digit walleye that are in these places that are feeding on ciscos and lake whitefish and those large pelagic forage fish. But how do you pattern them? How do you target them? Like that is the mystery, right? Like, but they're there, and the odd one gets caught, especially through the ice. I think that's probably the best time of year to get them. But like, there's way more there than people.
Sonar is going to change that.
What's that?
Forward-facing sonar is going to change that.
Yeah, we're going to see how this goes, man. I'm curious. I'm curious what the outcome of all this is going to be down the road and how much it changes. So I
had a guy ask me one day, he said, "So what's so different about it?" I said, "Well, your electronics you have now, you got like $4,000 worth of electronics on your boat." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "So they pointed it ahead of the boat." It's basically what's happened, It's not anything groundbreaking, and it's out ahead of the boat, so you see what's out there, right? He goes, "So I could just turn my I said, no, it doesn't work like that. But that's basically what they've done. That's why it's called forward-facing sonar. Yeah. It's not side scanning. It's not looking down.
And I think for the ice anglers, it's going to be pretty clutch. I think that is the market that will use it. Like for us up here where we are, that's the market that's going to use it the most is the ice anglers, because one forward facing sonar unit, you can the cone angle is so wide on it that three guys could use it at one time. You need one unit, right? Yep. And man, they're coming down in price. I Scotty, we talked about the one night, the new one from Eagle, from Lawrence, $1,000 US forward facing sonar. You know,
like, he just went to Radio World and bought it.
You know, and I saw a video. I'll send it to you, Scotty. We'll talk about it in the next few weeks. But at ICAST this year, there was a unit that's being marketed out of Japan, and it looks like a Garmin LVS 32 transducer, and no box. It Bluetooths to your phone.
No way.
Yep. It Bluetooths to your phone, to your iPad. So you don't even need a screen. You just need the transducer. It goes to a little box, and it sends a Bluetooth to your device.
Can you imagine how many phones are going down the hole this winter?
Oh, yeah. No kidding. Like it had to happen. Like that, we can't just keep getting better and better without bringing some of this market. And this happens with all fishing stuff, right? All companies come out with, every company that has high-end tackle, that technology eventually trickles down to the lower end models, right? That's what's great about the fishing industry, is that if you wait a few years, the stuff you can't afford becomes affordable to you because they've brought that technology down. And we're seeing that with electronics now. Like, we need that. It's the only way to push forward with this. So,
and Jeremy, a great point that you bring up, the eye deeper.
That's deeper. Yeah,
Bluetooth to your phone as well. But as I said, that almost was a step back. And no offense to the folks at Eye Deeper, but in terms of the visual presentation and what it has to offer on your cell phone, to me, that was a step back to the 2-day age when it first was introduced. So this idea of forward-facing sonar on your iPad, on your phone, I thought it was just a matter of time. Getting back to some of the comments that were expressed, George was saying that fish that you were catching, needless to say, you're 100% right, George. What happened 10, 15 years ago to produce such large fish now?
I don't know. We're catching, like, I said this to Trevor the other night. We've caught a lot of 18 to 20 inch bass this year, more than usual. Like, we've started the last 3-4 years, especially. We've been keeping track. I've been trying to teach them so in kayak fishing, everything's in inches, right? Your 5 best fish. So I'm like, every time you go, buddy, measure your fish, put it in your phone, in your notes, and then it gets stored in the cloud. You can go back. What day did you fish this lake? What time of year? And you know the date. It's all time stamped, and these are the fish you caught. You're not going to have to tell you some bullshit story. Like, oh, remember that time we caught those 18-inch fish? Well, we actually did. It's in your notes. Like, you measured them, right? And there's something that went on. Like, these don't happen these aren't like magical. This isn't unicorns. This is like actual science. But something's been going on. And there's some serious good bass fishing right now in some places. And like, better than, these aren't giant fish, but better than average size, I'm going to say. Now there's a bias with that. I've put a lot of effort into largemouth fishing this year, a lot more than I usually do, for a reason. I've really kind of got my groove with the kayak, where I can take that plastic boat where a lot of people ain't going to go. Like, I can push-pull that thing into places that bass boats aren't going, especially if the wind's right. You're not getting in there. Like, I have to push a kayak in there. You're not getting there with a bass boat. But it's paying off. But I'm catching these fish everywhere I go this year, like better than average size. It's, and again, we're not talking wall hangers, but no one's going to complain catching better than average, like 18 and 19-inch bass. Those are nice fish, man. Like, no one's going to complain about that.
Well, look at the smallmouth now. Like, we've talked about this 100 times.
Yep.
15 years ago, you caught a 3.5-pound smallmouth. Woo! It was a good smallmouth.
Yeah.
That's why nobody fish smallmouths in tournaments, because on a good day, For a 6-fish limit, you brought in 19 pounds. And for a 5-fish limit, you brought in maybe 16.
Yeah.
And guys would bring in 20 pounds of largemouth like falling off a log.
Yeah.
It was what it was. God, I had a point there where I think 3 weekends in a row, I had 26 in a day.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's, they're out there to be caught, but all the people out there now targeting. I mean, I sometimes wake up and look at Facebook in the morning, sit and have a coffee or something, and I'll be sitting around looking at it, and I'm almost sick of looking at guys holding up 2 4-pound smallmouths.
Yeah, it's
just what it is. There's so many of them.
Yeah,
that anybody can catch them.
100%.
You don't have to be a good fisherman now. I know a guy goes down here, sits on the dock in Gananoque. Every year he catches a smallmouth over 7 pounds.
Yeah. And to Richard's point, I believe it. And to Richard's point, we at the CFN retreat this year was definitely quality over quantity. We saw a lot of big fish this year and who knows why. But to Richard's point, Jerry caught 3 25-inch walleye and didn't have live scope, but certainly was in the right place at the right time. But talking about big fish, have you seen any of the pictures coming out of Wawa in that salmon derby? Have you seen the size of salmon that are being caught up there?
Really?
I was lucky enough to be talking to Brad Norris from Pow Casting, and he was telling me about it. And then when I'm up in Hearst, there was an individual that was sharing photos, and I said, "Is that the derby that's going on in Wawa?" And he says, "Yeah, look at this one." What's that?
These are kings?
Oh yeah, like Thais, like almost legit Thais. So he was showing me a picture of a 37-pound salmon, and to what you were saying about the bass, Jay, like it looked like somebody had taken a basketball pump and pumped this salmon up. It was almost round. It was so darn big. And I said, "Is that normal? Like, do they catch big fish like that all the time?" And he says, "Yeah, in Superior, it's known for its big salmon." But I don't know.
Yeah.
This year has definitely been, in my opinion, about the big fish. The quality has definitely been there. The 932 that was caught in Hearst at the NLWT event, they've never seen a fish that big. And if that was on the Bay of Quinte or in Lake Erie, that fish was 12 pounds all day long, just based on the features. The head, when I saw the head come out of the net, I was just like blown away. The features were amazing.
Listen to this, Scotty. This is I'm not going to share it because I'm on my laptop, so it's a pain. But I'll read this out. Okay, this is the Wawa Derby. This is from today. This is articles from today. I'll send it to you guys on Facebook. 335 fish were brought in total. This past weekend. Now the Derby's been going for a while, right? The Derby, they had some pre-Derby winners. This is on August 17th, a 28.65. Is this for one fish? August 18th, 37.95. August 19th, 31.5. August 20th, 29.05. And on the 21st, a 39.7. Yeah, these are single fish points, like a 32.5, a 35-pounder, a 24. These are like great salmon hunt from 1985 weights, right? Like,
and that's exactly what I said. I said, we've not seen fish in Lake Ontario like that since the 80s. I want to say mid to late 80s.
The top child was 30.9 pound salmon, top child prize.
Wow. I got one that was 35 and I got one that was 37, like 10 minutes apart. I was just on a boat with guys. It wasn't me. I was just reeling them in. I just happened to get them. But just the fact that, and we put 3 or 4 over 35 in the boat that day.
It's absolutely remarkable. And the 37 that you just mentioned, Jay, it was either a son or uncle or something. I don't know what the affiliation was to the individual, but he showed me the picture of it, and I was just I was blown away. And I mean, it's not often you get to see salmon that big, but to see the numbers of them being caught. And when Brad was telling me about that one that was 39, before that in the morning was the 20, I think it was the 27 incher that was brought in first. And typically, especially Lake Ontario, you catch a 27-pound salmon, like, dude, you're going to the scales because like it's lights out. You've won big fish. Up there, it's like middle of the pack.
But this is Lake Superior that usually has the smaller salmon because it's deeper, colder. Like they don't grow typically as big up there. Like that's been my experience, right? That's amazing.
It really is. And of course now it's just wall to wall boats.
I've seen that too, George. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that too this year.
Wall to wall boats now, and literally it's becoming like the 401 at rush hour. The amount of boats that are up there now that they found out how big these fish are. Everybody wants a chance to catch a tai.
Yeah.
And I can't say I blame them. Steve's asking a question. Do you think the fish size is better, or have we become better anglers with better baits and products? Great question, Steve.
Both.
I think the technology and the products, like that's going to continually improve, like on a kind of a steady scale. The fish is cyclical more, but I think overall we're seeing a lot better than average sized fish, and I think that they are just bigger than average. A lot.
So there's the story. That's Brad. He was up there and saw it firsthand.
Yeah.
So 37 in the AM. Now, to me, that's, pack the boat up, put it on the trailer, you're done. Like you've won big fish. And then to have a 37.95 15 minutes before the scales closed, and then the 39 on top of that. So the 37, I saw the actual fish or the picture of the fish, couldn't believe the size of it. And then I find out a 39 pounder was caught too.
Wow.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the.
So to jump back to Jeremy's comment a while ago, he says, has the salmon run started yet to get heavy rains in the rivers? Or are they starting to stage? The weather hasn't been good to predict from Muskoka. Well, I'll tell you, Jeremy, they're staging. There's guys on the piers already starting to get them. Not hot and heavy yet, but it's coming. And maybe this is the year to get a real big one if you're a river angler. Yeah. Let's be honest. Like everyone's catching big salmon and lots of them. This could be a good year if you just want to go down to the river and have a chance at a big one. This could be the year if you want to try that. Absolutely.
Great question, Cliff, all the way out from BC. Do you guys call them kings or Chinooks? We call them kings. Do you call them kings, Jay?
I call them Chinooks. I just call them Chinooks. Yeah. I don't know. I don't call them. I don't know.
I call them sashimi.
Yeah. Call them tasty. I do love sushi, man, and I haven't had a good sushi feast for a while. Man, tough to beat.
There's a dig. Fewer anglers using Berkeley. So
that's always George.
Wow, prove me wrong. Whoa.
Ooh.
Wow.
Hard to beat power bait, George. The numbers say it. It's probably the top selling bait still in the world. It's power bait. So yeah, I'll send you a few packs, George. You running low? I can take care of you, buddy. Don't you worry. And George, I just found out my nephew's going to Laurentian in Sudbury, so I might just be cutting some of your grass, just so you know.
Whoa!
In the kayak.
Yikes! All right, shots fired. With the two of you here, I do have a segue into a question that I want to hear both of your opinions. But first and foremost, I thought I shared some information in regards to forward-facing sonar, and I know we've talked about it at great length, but currently, as I've understood, 12 states are looking at banning forward-facing sonar. They have not done so, but they are looking at it. I do believe that for folks like Garmin, I feel bad for them because I know they've spent a lot of money on the R&D of this. And really what this statement is saying with these states potentially on the brink of not allowing them is that they don't trust anglers, that obviously they don't trust the anglers following the rules, being ethical anglers, this, that.
I don't see how they can stop you.
Well, I guess, Jim, going forward, when it comes to everything that's going on with tournaments, and let's face it, tournaments have taken a hit. Things cost more. Now we've got the forward-facing sonar issue. People are concerned about the number of tournaments and the number of pressure on the fish. What does a tournament director have to do in order to either grow or maintain the number of participants? Like what are some of the ideas, some of the advice that you guys have for those tournament directors out there that are certainly starting to see their numbers drop?
Take up golf.
Take up golf.
You know, the big thing, Scotty, it's the percentages of payback. It always has been, you know, like, what am I getting for what I'm putting in? It's not about, look, if you're going to fish tournaments, and I've fished a number of tournaments in my life. I'm not an avid tournament angler, just don't have the time to do it, to be honest, because I don't want to be a donator all the time. The reality is that it doesn't matter the entry fee, but what's your return on that entry fee, right? And I think that in Ontario is a tough market because we are so saturated with tournaments because our season is so short. Like, you're talking about from opening day to Labor Day, which is typically like classic weekend, right? So all the tournament series wrap up. You're looking at like 10 to 12 weeks, depending on the year. Max, that's it. 10 to 12 weekends. So, like, there's not enough real time in there. And because of all the options, some of the field sizes have dropped. People are trying different things and going to different places. And it's hard. There's not a good recipe out there. And I know, you know, a lot of the tournament directors out there are good friends of all of ours, and they're doing their best to keep the anglers happy. It is hard. It is really hard to do. I think there's some great events out there still, like some classic events, like Thousand Islands Open still going pretty strong from what I hear. You know, I like those like nostalgic events. I think those are important. But you know, there's been some good ones over the years that we've lost too, that just, you know, they've lost their leadership and lost their way, right? Like, I don't know, Scotty. I think that it's a tough, like, you're going to pay $300 to $400 for a day of fishing for a chance to win $3,000-$4,000.
And to your point, Jay, I was talking to someone that participates in the NOWT. He's had a 3rd place, a 5th place, and I think a 10th place finish. And he said, Scotty, typically I would be in the black. No issues, no worries. But with things costing more than they've ever cost before, he said, I'm barely breaking even. And that's me in a 3rd, 5th, and a 10th place finish.
And that's someone who's doing well.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
Moose makes the point, if you don't win several times a year, you're in the red.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, when I did it, I never had I'd get asked to fish tournaments by guys. One thing, you know, I never asked how much the entry fee was. I just went and did it because I always thought I was going to do well enough to get something back. But a lot of them were still that you didn't stand a chance of making money. If you looked at, you know, even with the price of gas, and I was fortunate because I was sponsored for everything. I had vehicles, I had, you know, everything was paid for. I didn't have to buy rods and reels. I didn't have to buy lures. I didn't have to buy anything, you know, like even I had hotel rooms paid for, like everything. So if you won $5,000 and you split it, well, you went home with $2,500 and the rest was expensed. And I was blessed to have that. Absolutely blessed to have experienced that. And, you know, most of these guys today, you know, they talk about a sponsorship. That means like 30% off, or, you know, some company gave them $500 towards gas to get it put on the side of their truck, and it cost them $400 to put it on the truck.
Yeah.
Right.
Things like that, eh? But that's what they do, and that's what I did. Everybody was, you know, you want to be part of it. Eh?
Moose brings up a great point, and I did hear this on the weekend as well. Lower entry fees, higher percentage in payback, and more contingency prizes from bigger brands. I did hear that from a small group. I also heard a small group that said raise the entry fee so that the payout is more for those who win. But really, when you're talking about like the traditional top 15 that continually move forward from tournament to tournament, as you said, Jay, I don't want to be a donor, and if you up it from $350 to $600 or $1,000 per boat, it's basically pricing yourself out of the industry, and I don't know that folks can continue to.
The deadline's here, I think, right coming now for the elite guys. They got to write a check for over $40,000.
Yep. Why? And it just finished, and their deposits are due soon. Isn't that crazy? Like, but Moose makes a good point about contingencies, and I think one thing that's really impressed me, guys, this last 2 years is, you know, being more involved in the kayak world. And if you actually do the numbers and cents, if you want to make some money tournament fishing, get a kayak, man. There's money to be made in the kayak world. Like Chris Totosco and a few others that are regulars on the podium, like they're killing it. And not just cash, but incentives. Like the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail, who's John Dean is the ringleader of that group. And I mean that in a great way. John's an awesome guy, and he has a lot of people helping him, but he waves the flag, right? Like at every one of their events, they're giving away Garmin, like 9-inch Garmin Echo Maps. They're giving away power pole units for kayaks. Like these are $1,000, $1,500 items. They're giving them away as door prizes. So all you have to do is show up, enter the tournament, and you have a 1 in 10 chance of walking away with. So the entry fee is $150, and you have like a 1 in 10 chance of winning at least something that's worth your money back. Plus, they pay down usually 10 spots out of 100 guys. So you have a 1 in 10 chance of getting your money back. And in fact, if you make the top 5, like first place is like $3,000, $4,000, depending on the number of people.
Yeah,
guys, this is better payouts than bass tournaments when you do the percentages.
100%.
It is. It's crazy. And I kudos to the kayak guys for getting the formula right. And it's getting more competitive. Like I have a little monster at home that wants to fish kayak tournaments all the time, and it's going to cost me tire to have the time to compete against these guys. They're good, like really good. Like I think I'm okay, but man, these guys are good. These are good anglers, but they deserve it. They put the time in, right? So tournament fishing is tough. You got to put the time in and put the money in, and it's such a hard balance, and no one's really got it figured out. And just when we start to get things right, something happens, and then it kind of flips again. So
and Moose, to your point in regards to horsepower, I would have to agree. You know, when it comes from a bass tournament situation or whatever, obviously there's that range of horsepower. But when it comes to the NOWT, you have everybody that has like a 20 to a 400, and that's what I saw up in Hearst this past weekend. You got tinners. Some didn't have live scope. Actually, I think one of the fish that were caught they weren't using live scope to catch it, and I think that was the 932. They weren't spotting those fish using live scope. It was all luck, good study of the lake, whatever you want to call it. Who knows? But I don't know. Yeah, and then of course, he mentions about divisions, and is it easy to create an elite division that say travels from tournament to tournament to compete against the hometown crowd? Something that I had suggested to the NOWT. You have your typical top 15s that are constantly in the top 15. What if you were to take them as your elite and just farm them out to each individual event as, you against the elites? I don't know, because to me, they got to do something, because the cost of doing business right now is getting harder and harder to keep.
Bob's comment about the Platinum Angler Program. So, that was a great program that was done for a while through Shimano, where if you bought certain products and you could show receipts of those products purchased. If I'm getting this wrong, correct me, Jim. But there was incentives for competing in these events. Even if you didn't do that great, there was still incentives corporately by making the right purchases of products. And I think that those types of incentive programs are really good, so you can support the brands you want to, and they can put a little money in your pocket if you do well. I think I like those incentive programs. I always have. And we don't see enough of those anymore.
On the weekend with Bait Fuel, the team of the year got $3,500 in Shimano product.
Wow.
There you go.
Can't get it to show up there. There you go.
Yep.
Like the team of the year, $3,500.
It's that kind of it's those kind of incentives. Like, as anglers, instead of us just being given things. It's nice. I don't mind it where it's like, okay, I choose to support these brands, but they also support the events that I compete in. And if I happen to do well, they put a little extra money in my pocket, right? I think that's great. I think that's a great incentive program.
Yeah. I think, Jay's saying the one thing I would like to see in kayak terms is no motors. And
so there's actually a tournament series in Ontario right now. No electronics, no motors, no fish finders.
Oh, wow.
And they've actually had some great turnouts, and their payouts are pretty decent. They move it around. They had an event on Moira Lake, and they had another event on a lake up in the Muskokas. I forget. These are all smaller lakes, but no pre-fishing, no electronics at all. So no trolling motor, no graphs. And the weights aren't big, but guys have to go out there and scrounge around. And these are good kayak anglers that are fishing these events, and they love it. They love the challenge of it. It's been pretty cool.
That probably also caters to and invites guys that may not have the money, the disposable
absolutely
to be putting on. I don't know how much that stuff costs for kayaking. I don't think kayaks well, but it's one of those things. I mean, let's face it, it's a lot of money. If you just got your kayak and your net and whatever you do, then
you take away the kayak, like $3 to $5 grand for a kayak, you take that out. But a 12-inch Garmin, same price as a kayak that is on a bass boat, right? And these guys are running, two 10 to 12-inch units, 2 power poles, a motor. They got it all. Forward-facing sonar, all of it, right? They have over 10 grand worth of electronics before you even add a fishing rod to that kayak. And the kayak itself is on top of the 10 grand. It's incredible.
The other thing too about forward-facing sonar that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if you guys are hearing the same thing, but I'm hearing folks that will go out and pre-fish with their forward-facing sonar. They'll prick the odd fish just to, verify size. But during tournament, as soon as they get to the spot, they're shutting it off. And one big reason is they're saying there's a spook factor with the forward-facing sonar. But there's a belief, or at least a bit of a trend that's now moving forward. And I heard it more with the bass and the walleye, that they're actually shutting these units off when they get to the spot. Have you been hearing the same thing or no?
I've heard it from a couple of guys that do it. But I mean, when I fished, we spent a lot of time in deep milfoil. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we got to a spot, the depth finders went off in the boat.
Yeah.
It was what we did because we were right on top of the fish. We were quite often maybe 15 feet away from the fish. So, if you ever get a chance, put your head in the water and listen to the tick of a flasher or so. And I'm thinking maybe they're quieter now. I don't know. But I know when you listen to a flasher, I mean, you could have it out in the air and listen. You hold it close to your head, it hurts your ear.
The newer units, Jim, like they ping faster, right? But it's still there. That they're still it's instead of like a tick tick, it's almost like a humming. It just pings at such a faster rate, but that sound is still there. It's still there. Like I find that what I found that with a kayak, like I can get stupid close to these fish now if I'm careful. Like so I don't use my pedals a lot because even the bearing itself in the pedal drive, it makes like a grinding, like a low pitch grinding sound. If I want to get close to these things in shallow water, largemouth or smallmouth, it's all with the paddle. And I'm just like gently moving along. And like, I don't know, but I've caught so many big fish now, like literally at the end of my rod. And I don't think I'd ever would have got close to those fish with a boat that way. Like on a sort of on a regular basis, but that also takes a bit of skill. You cannot move your feet. Don't drop your pliers. Like I'm telling you, you drop a pair of pliers in a kayak, it's like hitting a bongo drum. That plastic, that hollow plastic,
Try dropping pliers in the old tin.
Oh
boat.
Yeah. Oh God, clang. Absolutely.
Beer bottles, I've heard.
Yeah. The old Springbok, Jim. The old Springbok. Yeah.
First one I ever had was an 11.5-foot Thorns. That's the one that they took the picture of me that was on the cover of Ontario Out of Doors years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bob Jones took it off the Bronson Street Bridge, and I'm standing in the boat. It looks like a kayak. It looks so small.
That's hilarious. Well, as George says, well, luckily there's some angles that just enjoy being out on the water with a whole catch. Yeah,
It's true.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's true, George.
So Moose has a question.
Okay.
Would you rather pay $1,500 an entry fee and fish against 25 boats, or a 20,000 and a boat, or 250 for 4,000 against 80 to 100 boats? So basically, would you rather a smaller field with a bigger payout, or a larger field with a less of a buy-in, less of an entry fee?
I'd always go for the big prize myself.
Yeah. Assuming Heather's not listening to this call tonight. No, you gotta, yeah, that's right. Love you, honey. I think you got to go for the big one. One thing they've been doing this year with the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail is they've been doing these all-in tournaments, which is limited to 25 competitors, no pre-fishing, $250 entry fee instead of like the $125. And it's basically winner takes all. And they're doing it on some of the smaller lakes, like up north of Lindsay. They did one on Potash, one on Head Lake, up by Kinmount up there. That's a pastime up there. Don't talk about it. But it's I enjoy that. Like for $250 against 25 anglers, and it's a blast off start from one location. So all the kayakers are like, it's like bumper boats when they all get going. They've had good turnouts at those events, and I like those events. I just wish I didn't live so damn far away. But I think that's the better way to go, is that sort of less is more idea than fighting. You're fighting with 80 to 100 boats. Anyone can have a good day of fishing. That's the thing. Like, sometimes you got to be lucky to be good.
100%.
Right?
And so, Sean, I have the same T-shirt you do. 20 bearing 20 guys is not as satisfied as beating 90. FYI, I've never beaten one guy, but I think I'm correct. I'm with you there, Sean. I haven't beaten anybody either, so I don't really have a dog in this fight. And what is it? This is what I'm talking about. First, second, third down to maybe, too many babies out there. Yeah. Well, and this is the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't satisfy everybody. Everybody's going to have an opinion. Everybody's going to have a complaint.
Well, the ones that seem to squawk the most are the ones that never win anything, too.
True. Yeah.
I think a lot of times they're frustrated.
Yeah. You want to talk about frustration, not on the same level, but we should talk about this, guys. Look what happened at the OBN qualifier this weekend.
What did happen? I didn't even notice.
Oh, this is a good one. And this is the game, though. I don't think what happened is bad. This is part of the game. So picture this: Lake Temiskaming, right? They have the event up there. They decide to move it north. So you get, I think they had 55 co-anglers and 55 anglers. They go up there, 2-day tournament, right, to decide who gets to go to the BASS Nationals next year, or the regional tournament. So, but no one's like, it's a bit of a gamble. You're taking an event that's usually in Southern Ontario up to New Lisker. So they get a decent turnout, 55 teams. That's pretty good. Usually they average around 70 to 80. I think being that far north, not bad. Day one goes, I think you got to make the top 9. It's based on percentages. The top 9 move on. And the 9th angler on the boater side had 19 pounds. Jay Hotzak had 21 and change leading the tournament after day 1. Day 2, 3-hour plus fog delay. They end up canceling day 2. If you were, however you did on day 1, if you saved anything for day 2, you're done. Like, that's fishing. Like, there's a bunch of anglers who probably never thought they would make Team Ontario, and they're going to the next level, right? They put their money where their mouth is, went there, and fishing is gambling. It is a little bit. And there they are. Day 2 canceled. It's a pretty neat story. So, and I know some buddies who are pretty grumpy, but that's That's fishing. If they left anything out there on day 2, for day 2, they cost themselves potentially a spot.
But if they would have been in the top 9, they wouldn't have been grumpy.
Right. I'm sure there's some people that had one
I'm not knocking anybody. It's just, it's the way it works.
That's how it goes. I think it's a cool story, to be honest, but I feel bad for guys who you invest a whole week and all that time, and all comes down to one day, right? Isn't that something?
Well, look what happened in Minnesota in the Open the other day. On Leaf Lake. They called the first day, and then they had a 2-day tournament.
Yep.
So it's
yeah,
it's one of those things that happens. It's I don't know whether we ever had it happen here. I can't remember. Maybe the Kingston, but they used to have the smallmouth tournament in Kingston.
Right.
Maybe they called a day at that, which eventually I guess kind of morphed somehow into being the Canadian Open when it used to be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the walleye 444, I've been there to watch that. And, the first day you go out and everybody's catching 9 and 10 pounders. And then the next day you're in 9 and 10 foot waves.
Right.
And it gets cold. You have to. And I know they've run it, and they've run it to the point where boats have fallen apart. People have gotten hurt. So, at the end of the day, these tournament directors, they don't have an easy job. They've got to declare and make those hard decisions on a regular, if Mother Nature's certainly not helping them out. But we've got the 2 folks.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. That's
Gentlemen, this is the great divide. So I put that question out for a reason.
Yeah.
Now, both Jim and yourself said you would fish the larger event.
Yeah.
Bigger payout. But guys, not everybody's like us. We just said it earlier.
Yes.
The entry fees are too high, so they want lower entry fees. With lower entry fees means a bigger field. With a bigger field means more competition. More competition means less people are getting paid out.
Yeah.
Correct? So now all of a sudden you're paying out to like 10, 12, 15, 24. But the first 3, 1, 2, and 3 are not seeing the benefits of being there. So then they end up leaving and going elsewhere, trying to find that bigger field. You get what I'm saying? So the great divide, you have the guys that are very passionate, willing to put up $1,500. I want to fish against 10, 15. Perfect example. Quinny this weekend, CSFL, 15 boats.
Yes.
15 boats. Still paid out 10 grand for first.
Wow. It was huge.
You know what I mean? Go look at West Drink's post.
Yeah.
If we all think alike, who we are inside, if we're all very competitive, we're not going to do 4 events at $1,500 a pop because it's hefty, especially if you're only paying till 5th place, let's say, But if there's a happy medium where there is 1, 2, or 3 large events at a $1,500 payout with $25,000 for first place, maybe a boat in the mix, how Bait Fuel does it. Like every one of these tournament series has its bonuses, has its good and it's bad. I look at the CSFL Pro Tour and it's phenomenal. The payouts are incredible. I'm only fishing against 20, 25 other boats, sometimes 15, but I'm still getting 10 grand. When we won it last year, the Kawartha Cup, I still got 8 grand plus big fish, plus contingencies. Those are bonuses. That's amazing. But when you look at the other fields, whether it's a $200 entry fee or $250 entry fee, and then after all said and done, first gets $4,000, second gets $1,500, third gets their money back, and then 4th to 30th gets their entry fee back.
You gotta beat 80 guys.
You gotta beat $1,500, right? Like, and after gas, pre-fish, food, hotel, if you're doing a 2-nighter, so many different ways to look at it. And the problem is we're all complaining about the same thing. We're all complaining that we want 2-day tournaments. 2-day tournaments get put in place. All of a sudden we want 1-day tournament. Nobody can agree on anything because you have the guys that are super passionate about fishing and are willing to spend the money competing with the guys that just want to compete for fun. That's where you need to have 2 divisions. Here's your fun, average everyday Joe who wants to compete, and here's your pro who's willing to put up some money and potentially lose it.
Yeah.
True?
No, and to your point, Moose, Jay's point that he makes here, and I see it with the NOWT, and it's no fault of them. It's just you've got seasoned anglers that have tuned in and honed their skills when it comes to the live scope and are doing a lot better than the traditional winners that have won years after. And it's really interesting because the NOWT, I don't think is that unique with any other tournament trail, but those who won continuously 10 years ago are now near the bottom because they are started that learning curve of forward facing. You've got these young bucks coming in here that understand the electronics and are now all of a sudden winning. Well, the old guard that were constantly winning are now saying, well, wait a minute, like I don't want to just pay for me to lose. I'm not paying for these same guys to win all the time. But wait a minute, you had no problem taking that money away from them back then when you were constantly winning. So again, like even to the old guard, you're still hearing that well, I don't want to say cry fest, but you're hearing the same complaints that stuff is costing too much money, and unless I'm guaranteed something to either pay some of my bills, I don't want to participate.
I think we're talking the same language, but you're talking two different scenarios. Yeah. You look at NBA, NFL, you look at NHL. If a team has some sort of an advantage over another team, what does the other team do? They go and find their own advantage, whether it be skills training or electronics or this, that, and the other thing. It's no different than fishing, guys. It really isn't. We're talking about two different things. The average Joe that wants to fish competitively for fun, and then the fisherman who wants to be a pro and wants that big payout and is willing to take a chance. If you had, let's say, some sort of a rule where if you compete in any major tournament series where, I don't know, the entry fee's over $500 or $1,000 or it's considered a pro tour, you cannot enter this tournament series. There has to be some sort, because you got 10 or 15 boats that are always sitting in the top 10 or 15 competing against and beating out the guys that are just coming in and the ladies that are just coming in, and they're intimidated by it and. Are they doing anything wrong? Absolutely not. They're there to compete and win. Is the person that's coming in 14, 15, 16, 17 crying and not coming back? Some of them do, some of them don't. But that's the beauty of competition.
It's no different when the Johnsons or Cooper shows up.
Listen, whether it's the Johnsons or Cooper or Gussie or I could give you a handful of names from some incredible anglers. I don't go there to it's there's too many anglers that complain about the same thing. The money's not right and the fields are too small. So if the fields are right, the money's too small. If the fields are big, the whining happens on the other end. What I'm saying is the happy medium needs to happen where there needs to be some sort of a rule put in place, whether it's walleye fishing, bass fishing, perch fishing, any type of fishing, where if you're here to compete for this is fun, this is that. If you're here to compete for this is what you get, this is what you get, this is what you get. You've seen it time and time again. All these guys, we want one-day tournaments. We don't want two-day tournaments. They cost us too much. So all of a sudden, everybody's doing one-day tournaments. Now guys are complaining, we want two-day tournaments. Well, why do you want two-day tournament? Because we want to do two-day tournaments instead of one-day tournaments. So you bring that up, and then they don't show. So you give the people what they want, and then there are no shows. So as a tournament organizer or an organization, whether it be the OBN, Shootout, CSFL, CBFA, LMNOP, QRS, TUV, WX, Y, and Z, we've done it and tried it all. The problem is, even though you give the angler what they want, there's always another angler to bitch and complain about.
Interesting. Jim, I got to ask, back in the day when you were competing, did you see similar problems to this?
Yeah, but there was nowhere near as many places to go.
Right.
It was you sort of had this is where you go or you don't do it. There was only
is it possible that it's too watered down, the tournaments? Like,
I said that many times.
We've got too many tournaments.
Everybody has a tournament circuit now. I had a guy call me about it was back in the middle of the summer. He called me. He said, I'm thinking about starting a tournament series just on Burrito Lakes. He says, what do you think of that? I said, do you have a date job? He goes, yeah. I said, just stick to it, okay? That's brutally seriously honest, you know.
But
He said,
Jim,
"Oh yeah, I'll talk to Shimano. They'll give me rods and reels." I said, "Easy. Yeah. How do you know Shimano's going to give you rods and reels? You don't have anything yet, and you can't use the angler's money. You can't just take a whole bunch of entry fees in it and say wait to get the entry fees to run it. It's it's like anybody has a tournament circuit now, and that's why I said I'm really surprised that you haven't seen the government get more involved somehow for the number of them are out there. I don't agree with it at all that they would, but I'm surprised that the attempt hasn't been made.
Jay, I mean, I know this might be a touchy subject, but it's funny that Jim mentions this because I kind of thought this when it came to certain fisheries that the NOWT competes on. Has there ever been a discussion from an M&R level to say, okay, listen, we can only limit a lake to like 2 tournaments. We can only limit that lake to maybe 1. That lake can't sustain.
So, listen, there has not been open discussions. It's been discussed, but not anywhere like where it's going to be finalized. It's been talked about. And the good example of this is in the state of Michigan. State of Michigan permits tournaments. We especially on smaller lakes that get pressure so much, but the permits are not. They aren't very restrictive. The Michigan DNR just wants to keep track of, like, when you have a tournament, you have to submit, whether you're a 5-boat club tournament or a 50-boat, pro tournament, you need to submit your results of fish caught by species, things like that. They have to be submitted for you to get your next permit. You don't submit the data, you don't get a permit. But they also want to make sure that you don't want someone like we all don't want to show up. I don't care what lake it is. Like, we all don't want to show up on Lake Scugog and have 3 tournaments on the same day. That probably happens, but it could. And that's really why these tournament registration systems are being floated around. Michigan's not the only one. I've heard good things about Michigan because Michigan DNR is using the data to better manage their fisheries. The fear is no one wants to have it controlled, because once you give up that control to the government, this is the conspiracy theorists out there that will have it all gone from us and we'll never get to bass fish again. And, all these things will happen. I think it's important. It's a resource that belongs to all of us, not just the tournament organizers. It belongs to everyone. And I think that submitting the data from the tournaments is important. And I know that's not happening. It's happening voluntarily by some, but not all. And I think everyone should be doing it regardless. But I do think, Scotty, that we have a lot of our lakes are pretty big. We don't have the tournament pressure in Ontario like we do down south as bass anglers. But I will say, good point, George. They don't have the appetite. That's probably the best way to describe it. But I will say that it would be good to have most of the organizations on the same page. But unfortunately, someone's got to say it, boys, and I'm saying
no. Listen, that was going to be our next
but everyone's reading from a different book. That's the problem, right? So
you said it. That's the problem. Yeah. They're all listen, if I'm a print shop, okay, I work with other print shops and we work well together. We feed each other.
Yeah.
In my world, that works. In the competitive world of fishing, they're all businesses. Let's face it, they're all businesses. They can't play nice with each other. They can't communicate. All they do is they all wait for each other's tournament schedules to come out and then say, okay, now I have these dates available for this, and I can't go on that day because he's over there and this. So that might work for a small percentage of people, but you're right. You're 100% right. They don't talk. They don't communicate. They don't play nice in the pond.
Yeah, they don't. I know. It breaks my heart, honestly, because we're all in it for the same thing, but we all don't get along, right? Like, I could tell some great stories, but I won't. Listen, I've been drinking my water nicely, but my whiskey over there is calling my name if this conversation keeps going.
Well,
but
I was just gonna say we got to wrap things up. I haven't eaten yet, and I know Jim's got to get going, so I will bid farewell to all of you for now.
And Moose and Sean, thanks for jumping on. Well timed jumping on, boys. Appreciate that.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for.
Hey Moose, it was great to hear you explain it like that. I want to, as soon as we get off, run outside, take a couple of deep breaths, buddy. I don't want you going down.
We want the old days, Jim. We want to fish like you guys used to.
We do this because we love it. We also do this. We love the competition. We love the fishing. We love the sport and everything there is about it. The problem is we need more people coming into it. And if we're treating it this way now and they're seeing this, nobody's going to want to come in and play.
Yeah.
So there's your two divisions, those who are serious and those who just want to have a good time. And out of all the tournaments that I've run with Scotty, everybody that wants to have a good time, low entry fees, they don't care what they get back. At the end of the day, they're introducing someone to the sport and having a good time. On the other end of the spectrum, I'll spend $2,000-$3,000 and do a massive tournament in hopes of fishing, in hoops of winning. I don't care who I'm competing against. Doesn't matter if the Johnsons are there or Cooper or Gussie or Sean or, Gooch. It does not matter. It's competition. You want to win, you gotta compete.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to be handed to you. And I think that's where you need to have find that happy medium. The average Joe, the competitive average Joe weekend angler, and the pro who wants to, or quote unquote pro, the guy who's willing to put up the money where his mouth is.
100%. Gentlemen, as always, thanks so much for your time. Jim, thanks for sticking it out. I know you've had a difficult day, so I appreciate you sticking around. Jay, as always, you're on the road doing, all these wonderful things for our fisheries. So again, thank you for your time. And Moose, Sean, as always, a pleasure to see such beauty in one little square.
Look at all these buttes. Love it. See you, boys.
Be good, guys.
Take care now. Be good. All right, that's our show. Very entertaining, very lively. Really appreciated Yvonne coming on here with Theresa from Waterfalls Lodge to explain the ladies event that's upcoming. Of course, we have the hoodies and hats that are now available through Richard Dunlop, so make sure you get a hold of him. The OFC Nation retreat is coming up in September. And, of course, the Made in Canada Tackle Show is also coming up in September. So lots happening, still happening, and we'd love to see you all there. In the meantime, have yourselves a great week. Go out and catch some fish. Enjoy the warm weather while we can. And just remember, I love you all. Take care of yourselves. All the best. Dave, take us away. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.